In this video, we will discuss Databricks DLT Live Table. How to create Delta Live Table in Databricks inside Microsoft Azure portal. In order to create this DLT Live Table, we will have to create some kind of portal where we are using this part. So I'm going to create a Databricks workspace first. Then I'll be creating ADLS Gen 2 storage. Then I'll be creating Unity catalog in this video. Then I'll show how to run Pyspark code. I'll share this Pyspark code in description box so that you can directly run this Pyspark code for your use. Let's see how to run this code one by one. Here you can see I'm inside my Azure portal. You can run this portal by opening this browser. I'm just opening my portal.azure.com. Here you can see I'm having my account which is having global administrator. So I just dive in. Inside this user, I can see I do not have any resource user. You can see do not have any resource group, do not have any Databricks. So first let's create Azure Databricks service. So I'm going to select my subscription here. If you have free subscription, you can go here. Otherwise, you can create pay as you go. Then let's create a resource group if it is not there. So I'm going to create resource group and let's give some name of this workspace. So I'm going to provide this region, going to select premium, role-based access control, and then let's go with the next is encryption and review and create. Meanwhile, this is going to deployment and I'm going to create this portal. I'm going to use this portal for another purpose. What's the purpose? I'm going to create a ADLS Gen 2 storage. So first I'm going to create this ADLS Gen 2 from my portal. So click on storage account, click on this create a storage account, select your subscription, select your resource group, it is already there, select your storage account. So I'm going to use DLT storage Sachin and selecting the same region as I have in my Databricks workspace. So primary service, yes, I can go for ADLS Gen 2 because I need ADLS Gen 2, and then I can go for low redundancy storage. Next, I'll be selecting my hierarchy namespace so that I can use data lake storage Gen 2 endpoints. Let's say remaining all the settings as it is, not going to change anything here. So let's create it. Meanwhile, these two services or these two workspaces are going to deploy it. I'm going to create another thing. What's the third thing which we are going to create? This is called access controller for Azure Databricks in order to give access to my Databricks nodes. So I'm going to provide this access connector. Currently I do have this one. So I'm going to create this connector again in the same resource group. I'm going to create DLT access connector. Let's give another random name, leaving all the settings as it is, review and create. Let's create. Now go to storage. Inside this storage, I can see multiple containers, storage account, containers, file share, queue, tables. So I'm going to create this container. Let's say lending, where I'll have all my raw data set. So I'm going to create this lending. Inside this lending, I'm going to create two folders, two directory. So first I'll be having raw roads, save, and the next directory I'm going to create for my raw traffic. So this would be next directory. Okay, So inside raw roads, I'm going to upload some CSV file. Can you see? I just uploaded all the CSV file here. In a similar fashion, I'll upload some CSV file in raw traffic as well. Can you see? Now this directory consisting of CSV files, several CSV files here. Let's go back to my landing folder. Here you can see these two directories are there. Let's go back this connectors here. So now I'm going inside this connector. I'll be using this resource ID in my Azure portal. Now go back to the landing part. Here I can see the storage account is showing here. So I'm going to click on this storage account container. Click on this AccessIAM. Inside this AccessIAM, I'm going to add a role assignment. This would be useful for my access connector as well. So I'm going to connect this role assignment. Search for storage blob data contributor. Click on next. Click on user group. So select member. So you can see this would be assigning for my Databricks. So I'm going to select manage identity. So what is the manage entity? So this manage entity is for data access connector for Azure Databricks. So I'm going to select my DLT access connector, which is just created by me only few seconds back. So I can select this part and review and assign. I want to use this ADLS Gen 2. This is going to provide the connection with my storage account and my ADLS Gen 2. Now go inside this DLT launch workspace inside this Databricks portal, where I can select my same administrator part. Here you can see it's a sign in. Now you can see this is showing my portal Databricks, where I can use my vertical access, vertical workspace, recent catalog and everything. Now I can see this management part as well. You may or may not see this manage account because there might be some access level. What's the access level here? You can see the previous videos as well to enable this manage account, because you might not have this global administrator. You just click on this left pane. You just go to your Microsoft Enter ID, click on this users and select this same users. You can see this email ID. Search for this email ID. Here you can see this is my user ID. I'm going to select this user ID, and this should be global. This must have global administrator role. Okay, can you see monitoring properties? Okay, overview, or I can go here on the left side, users, default users, role and administrator. You can see role and administrator for your new role. So protect actions, you can see the actions as well. Or you can go back here for your users, click on this part. This might have this global administrator role. Okay, so this is showing assigned roles. Here you can see this is the assigned role. What kind of role you have seen assigned? You are assigning global administrator here. Okay, once you have this you have assigned this global administrator to your user, you can see that role as well, that manage account. Now inside this manage account, I can see this manage account in the next portal. I can create the catalog as well. Okay, so here I can use this catalog. Here I can see the Metastore Azure East USA is already existing. So I can delete this part and will be creating a new one. So I'm going to delete this from the scratch. Now you can see I do not have any Metastore. Let's create this Metastore here. Name any DLT Metastore, right? and give this select an East US because this is the region where we are working, and select the region for you are only able to assign single workspace here. Now give the ADLS Gen 2. What is the container name here? Go back here, search for container name. This is my container name. So let's copy this part and just paste it here. Why I'm pasting here? So that I can see this structure. So I can select this part here. Okay. So this is my storage name. My container name is lending. So after this endpoint, I'm going to select this one and going to DFS and then core and then Windows, then .NET. This is my path. So I'm going to copy this entire scenario and just paste it here. If you have any other directory inside this lending, you can give that path as well. Now what is the access connector ID? Here I can see this is the home. This is the access connector ID. Click on this newly created access connector ID. This is my resource ID. I can copy it to clipboard and go back here and just paste it here. Now I can create this one. Can you see? Now it's assigned successfully. I'll have to assign to workspace. If it is not automatically assigning, you will have to checkbox it. Now enable. You can see this is assigned to enable. Congratulations, you have created your Metastore now. This is the workspace where we are having all the access for this one. Okay, here you can see inside this configuration, do you have lending same storage or same ADLS Gen 2 path so that you can use this catalog? Yes. Now go to the catalog. Inside this user management, you can see all the options are given here. You have the account admin access. Now go back to catalog from your main Databricks portal. Now inside this catalog part, I can see some kind of option. For example, I can see this one is using add catalog. Okay, if I click on this setting, you can see this is showing my Metastore, which means I do have this assignments, this visibility here, DLT Metastore. I'll have to click on this option, add a catalog. I can manually add this catalog or run a script from the workspace to run this catalog. So I'm going to add a catalog here. For example, I'm going to add dev catalog. Okay, I'm going to keep it standard, which is containing tables, views, function, and other data storage in cloud storage. I'm not going to provide any storage location, external location. Let's create. Here you can see this is created now. I do have these two database by default. First is default information schema. You can click on this in details part where you have all the information regarding this dev catalog. If you click on this permission, you can see what kind of permission do I have. If you want to access another permission, you can click on this grant option. You search for your user. If it is tester, DevOps, or any other HR, sales, marketing, you can go back here inside this part and just assign use catalog, prerequisite, read, create, edit, or metadata. As of now, I'm going to provide all privileges, give all privileges here and grant this permission to your catalog. Can you see? Now it's having this catalog permission. If you click on this overview, you can see this is showing another part here. Okay. Now you can see this create schema is also enabled. Okay. Now I'm going to click on this workspace and also inside the compute. One thing you can notice, I do not have any compute resources. I have not created any compute resources here because DLT will automatically create that resources here. Okay. Now in the next part, I'm going to create a new notebook and let's name it some kind of DLT dev _ catalog. Inside this notebook, I'll assign my my notebook, my query, my commands, and I'll access this notebook to my DLT tables. Okay, so from where I'll access this DLT table, I'll go here for workflow. Inside this workflow, where I created my job, and I can see or navigate all the job runs here. I can create Delta live tables as well. So here you can see create pipeline option is showing. I can use the same pipeline options here as well. So I'm going to create this pipeline now. Let's name something, for example, DLT dev pipeline, and I'll have to assign this advanced option because this is not supporting anyone, right? And I'll have to assign my source path because I have not written any path here, so I'm not able to provide this one. So I'm going to provide this DLT dev catalog here. This is my this one. This is my notebook which we have created just seconds prior. Now I'll have to write some code here. Now I'm going to write some script so that we can create some part and we can invoke this value here. So I'm going to run this script here. So first and foremost, I'm going to create a schema for my dev catalog. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I do have this by default option as SQL. So I'm going to convert my by default option so that I'll writing my SQL query. Okay, so now I am going to run this raw traffic DL, and as a select inside this I'll be writing my schema. So I have already schema ready so that I can create or refresh streaming live table. I'm going to use this live table here with this name. So I'm inside this live table, I can write this schema which is assigned to all my columns. So here you can see this stream live table will access the property of streaming live tables and will be able to map all my columns with proper names. Now I'm going to access, I'm going to provide the table name. So from where? From my cloud files. You can see this cloud file is just using this table's name. So what is the value here? My data set, my tables are there inside my ADLS Gen 2. So what I'll do, so I'll provide this ABFSS, and this would be the next part. This would be my container name. So here you can see I had already defined this container name. Click on this Metastore, click on this one. I can copy the same path from here, from this landing to this value. So I can define this value here. This is my container name. This would be my storage name, and this is my dfs.core.windows.net. and what is the file name? So this file name is there inside this storage. You can go back here inside this container, inside this landing. You can see this is my folder name. So I'm going to copy this raw road and paste it here. Okay, so let's write this code here in a proper way. Okay, so I'm going to delete this notebook so do not have any ambiguity. Now you can see this is showing my property here, and I have provided exactly part. Now I'm not going to run this part. In a similar fashion, I'll be writing my raw roads table with the same path. I'll be extracting from the same path. So let's run this path here and provide the same address here. So let's copy this value from this address path, and I'm going to copy this value here as well. This is my address. And what is the format of this label? This format is kind of CSV. So I'll be provided this CSV type. So this would be access all the CSV files from this address. Okay, in a similar fashion, it will be accessing all the raw roads from this values as well. Okay, so row roads and the columns will be selected from this address. Okay, now let's go back here. Inside this data table, here you can see I had already provided this catalog. This is DLT catalog. I just selected here, and I can select this Unity catalog because this is my destination where I want to create. So inside this dev catalog, inside default schema is my target schema, where I'm going to specify the schema that where I want to publish my table in the Unity catalog. 3-level namespace. So 3 namespace is, first is catalog, second is the name, table schema name, and then my table name. Now here you can see you can define your compute policy where we are having this none, and we are going to enhance this cluster policy. Here you can see this is showing enhance, legacy, and if you want to see the enhance auto scaling, this is having minimum workers and maximum worker concept. And if you want to switch to fixed size, which means these workers levels are available for you. So minimum you will have to keep 1 workers here, and I'm not going to keep use photon, and it will automatically create compute resources in backend and will be created by part. Here you can see this is showing 2 dBu. Why? Because we are creating this part and Databricks unit will be charged as per this unit. Now I'm going to switch to JSON part where I can see all the information is here, all the values are given. This would be property for my data table. Now here you can see once I jump to from UI to JSON format, I can add this line node type ID here inside my label, in between label and number workers. Number of workers were already there, 1, and labels are default, and I'm going to add this node type ID. Let's go to UI again. If you want to see everything is looking fine, you can see this is my pipeline. I'm going to create inside this delta live create, and I'm going to create this pipeline. Okay, in a first run it will take much time because it will be creating your compute resources, it will creating your background notation, and here you can see the pipeline source code is everything there. And make sure you have the correct source code, correct cloud files, correct format, tables name, otherwise it will shoot an error here. You can see this is option where you can see the validate or full threshold, or you can schedule this trigger pipeline as well. But as of now, for production level testing purpose, I'm going to start this pipeline so that a graph will be generated with all the resources. It will initialize setting up tables, rendering graphs, and all the options will be showing here. So it will take time. So I'm going to pause this video and will resume after some seconds. Now here you can see after some 1 minute, or it will take some time, 5 minutes as well. You can see this will be creating my 2 tables. Here you can see first raw rows is being created, or you can see this one is the table. You can expand here as well. You can minimize this event log below, and you can see this is showing this entire value. This is raw route streaming table, this is raw traffic streaming table. If you click on this one, you will find this is the property of your table. So what kind of table do you have? So I'm going to maximize it here. You can see this is my source code, this is my table name. If you click this data quality, this will be having some schema. So this will be enabled in few seconds. If you can see flow, what kind of flow do we have? What is the dependency here? This is also showing it inside this streaming table raw traffic. You will have this schema, you will have this data quality, it is all fine. You will have this values which is also giving here. Okay, now if you look back to your scenario, to your dev catalog, you will find the same table here. If I click over this dev catalog, open my catalog in new tab, and inside this catalog I'll expand this dev catalog, expand this default, and can see this raw roads. Inside this raw road you can see overview. So some columns are created. If you click on this raw traffic, you can see some columns are also created. This is showing this string part, right? So here you can see this is all the tab columns. This is all the columns here. If you click on this same part, you can see this is showing all the values. Okay. Now you can see the sample data here. You can see this data set is not showing here. If you can see the raw rows, you can see the some sample data is also not here because we have not inserted some data set here. We have just created this table and this is showing all the row flow. If you click on this flow roads, you can see this is showing the flow roads completed. All the JSON code is also there. You can use this JSON code for your CI/CD. Now if you want to see any error, you can see if you find any error, you can see in this blog. If you find any error, you can find this here also. What kind of query history you will find in this blog as well. Now I can go back here inside this update history. What kind of event log has been performed? You can see this is showing all the updates progress. Now you can see this would be the first code for my creating files. I want to run another file for my dev catalog, okay, for my another piece of code. So what kind of code I can insert here? I'm going to run some refreshing table. I'm going to refresh this depending table and I'm going to add this Pyspark code where I'm going to clean this table where this record is not null. This year is not null accepting. So I'm going to violation this drop. And this would be creating our raw traffic. This will DL. This raw traffic DL is just created by us at the top here. So I'm going to run this file. And this is the next cleaning, or you can see the transformation. I'm going to add this transformation as well. Let's run this file again. So after some times, it will be creating a dependency. And you will see it will automatically detect some partitioning or some dependency from one table to another table. Can you see in just few seconds it's also depending and also running, and here you can see all the parts here. Okay, so now I'm going to see this is just refreshing. If you can see this is just also refreshing. I can see this part is also depending. And one more thing you can see, I never define which table is dependent on each other, which streaming table is depending from each other values. It's automatically defining this dependency here. And also if you go back here inside your compute resources, you can see this compute resources is also showing here. Can you see job computing is also running in backend? This is my DLT execution. I never created any compute resources. This is the policy. This is the performance. This is the work type node I defined there in my JSON node. This is the driver node, and all the workers are running on this compute resources. Okay. If you can click on this Spark UI, you can see the operation of this values also here. You can see multiple storage and jobs and stages and storage are showing here. Okay, event logs is also showing here. Click on this structure streaming. You can see this is also streaming all the pipeline, metallization, raw traffic and cleaning part. Everything is performing in backend. Click on here. You can see this is showing all the navigating part. This is showing all the respective tables. Now I want to add some other codes in my Pyspark in order to perform some other refreshing other table. Now I want to join this table. So in order to join this table, I'm going to add some other tables. So this is going to join the other part. So I'm going to create a gold notebook. Let's rerun this code so that we will have the joining in seconds. So here you can see it's not taking much time because this is already created compute resources, mapping from the coding, mapping from the pipeline, and now finally showing this gold label. Here you can see this is showing the gold label. If I can hide this one or make below this point, you can see this is joining this my table. So streaming data table is running, and it is creating this pipeline, and this is creating traffic clean, and everything is going there which is relevant to this value. Now you can see after complete running this final code, gold is created, and we have joined these two tables here. Now this is the role of delta live tables. If you click on this delta live tables here, if I go back in the left pane, I click on this delta live tables, I can see all the pipelines are running here. Can you see? This is delta pipelines. So first it was got failed, second it got running. What was the operation here? You can see this was the output. Only one table was created. If I go back here, in the first run it got failed because of some error. If I go back here inside the next label, it's just creating this raw roads, and if I go back to the final label here, I can see the final gold is created here. Now I can see this is also running. Okay, I can run this pipeline from here as well. Now you can go back to your workflow. Here you can see this workflow is showing in job runs. Here I can create a job run. I want to create this job run and create a job, as we created jobs earlier as well, and I'm going to create this DLT jobs here as well, and instead of notebook I'm going to select this delta live table pipelines which is running in backend. Here you can see pipeline is showing, only one pipeline is there in my catalog. I'm going to select this one and I'm going to create this task. Whenever I'm going to create this task, it will be created automatically. I can run now or add a trigger to run this portal. So I'm going to run now, which is going to run in a backend. Here you can see created new tables pipeline, and this is running with this ID. If I click on this ID, you will be finding the same graph here which is running now. If you expand this one and watching the entire hood, you can see this is help you to learn how to create end-to-end pipeline here. Okay, so thank you for going through this delta pipeline lecture. Do subscribe, do click on bell icon so that you can see the next video in the same context. Thank you.